Hello. Welcome back to Crash Out Alchemy.
I tricked her.
Okay, yeah, I've already forgotten to use my pen mic. Hello, welcome back to Crash Out Alchemy, episode 6, I believe.
I think that's right.
Yeah, that we've put up. Anyway,
Yeah.
not all of our attempts, but don't mind my boyfriend here. Okay, today's episode, we are diving into, we actually got some really awesome feedback questions from our EMCS session that we did live last week, and I'm really stoked. Like, I feel really, really, I'm excited that Joan's going to tell us about herself, because I feel like we've talked about my stuff quite a bit. So we're going to talk about, kinesiology, EMCS, and then why Joan is always pushing on people's wrists and forearms.
It looks suspicious, right? I know. Like, one, is she doing it herself, and or is she looking for a pulse? We'll never know.
Yeah, that could be. Just checking to make sure I'm here.
But yeah, we like to do things backwards, so
we do a full session and wait for people to say, what were you doing?
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
And then we come back and explain what we were doing, what the fuck that was.
I was hilarious. When you got some of the feedback, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like I did an okay job explaining some things in the moment while we were doing them, but not the general overview of what we were doing.
Of what exactly it is. And
love that.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it started with Joan and I too, because to be honest with you, when I started doing EMCS sessions with you, I had literally no idea what I was signing up for, and I think I just said, as long as it doesn't hurt.
Right.
That was my I'm cool with whatever. So I think we can start there. I think
Denise helped me get good fast. So I started posting on social media that I needed practice and that I was offering free sessions, and I really wanted to get confident with this tool. And so she was one of the first persons.
And Jen and I had done some tapping. She had taught me the EFT tapping method too. So we had some history on doing like that type of energy.
Yeah, we talked some human design and stuff.
Yeah,
but we hadn't really.
We definitely need to deep dive in, because that was I've gotten a couple of other questions about human design and some questions about astrology too.
Okay,
so
cool.
we
might have to get help for that one.
Yeah, which is great because we do have those people. I mean, that's another thing we know. You're the human design person, but as far as astrology, I know just enough to sound like I know what I'm talking about.
I might barely be there.
And I know my own stuff pretty well, but if you threw like, our new granddaughter is a Virgo, and I don't know anything about Virgos. I really don't. And so it was in that I thought, I guess I probably need to do a little deep dive into, because doesn't everybody look up their grandchild's astrology? Come on now.
We hope so.
No, well, you should. If you don't, you should.
Well, it's sort of like the major arcana in the tarot.
Yes.
The 12 houses tell a story from start to finish. And so I can't tell you what Virgo means in the story necessarily, other than like the key word I feel like is like highly organized is what they get blamed for.
I was gonna
say, I have Virgos that are not. I feel like I'm being gaslit into my type.
And you know that there's like I'm sure there is an archetypical male and then an archetypical female. Sure. You know what I mean? Like all the nuances and everything. But luckily, don't you have
I have a guy. Yeah.
I was like, so we're gonna have someone that is
hit
literally
up Peter Guthrie at some point.
So excited. I cannot even.
I like his approach too. So okay. For that episode, we'll be back.
We're telling you all the things you have to look forward to. Oh, bye, Cooper. He's had enough of me. Where did all the wrist pushing magic come from? Like, let's start in on, and tell your history with EMCS too. Like, how did you find it?
You want me to start there?
Sure. I think yeah.
I found EMCS about 10 or 11 years ago. I had heard of Dr. Gary Cohn here in Oklahoma City for years through the hair industry, and just other stylists that I worked with had been to him, and I knew that he had a different approach and definitely dealt with, like, some of the readings that I had seen my friends come back with were like a chakra reading, and so I knew he did that kind of work, but I didn't know a whole lot more than that. And I had just moved back to Oklahoma City from Austin, out of a failed relationship where I really had a massive crash out.
Age about how old?
Early 30s. Yeah. And
speaking of astrology,
right?
I was kind of figuring that would have been.
Yeah, I was post for, oh God, I'm blanking on it. First Saturn return, but everything was still really messy. And I was still very much stuck in a victim mindset. So when you're stuck in a victim mindset, it's fascinating that you keep winding up the victim.
Yeah. and you will forever.
Forever,
I mean,
right.
Until
Keep
you recognize that you are, and I will say, as a person who was raised in a victim mindset and surrounded by a victim mindset, I will slip back to a victim mindset.
Right. I mean, the whole world's doing it all the time. Well, so it's like, it's really hard to get out of.
Yeah.
But so without telling 18 stories, because really this was like a lot happened in this time that I think is all very pertinent. But to this specific story, I had just come back from a major crash out. I had lost a job, moved to Texas in shame, and then
Austin's a cool place to move, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but like, I'm a hermit, so it
Austin's
wasn't.
Probably not a good hermit.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily my place. I learned quickly, like, oh, I don't want to be where all the people are, and that's where all the people are.
Yeah, they are definitely thick.
And they're moving there thick, fast. Anyway, so I'd come back from this failed relationship. I had just lost my job. I was really feeling like, God, what is my career doing, and where am I going? And
were you doing hair?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But I knew that I was like really starting to burn out, and I had taken a few months off in Austin and tried to kind of figure out maybe what I was going to do, because I wasn't going to start doing hair again while I was down there, but then I was back here. And it was just it was a super hard time for me, and I was drinking, and I was struggling with drinking, and I knew that I was struggling with drinking, and I was living here in this house.
Wow.
That we're recording in right now, and there was, I don't know, some special day that I got really drunk and sat outside and caught my mom in a conversation where I just proceeded to attack her for like hours verbally. And it was really not cute.
She held still for it?
She held still for it.
That's
she
off.
probably shouldn't have, but
I'm a mom.
Yeah. And I, the few days after that, when you're trying to like get sober again, and you're just like, oh my God.
Had you been sober and then you started drinking again, or had you not yet?
Yes, it was very messy. In all of this time, I was constantly trying to get sober, but then like not following through. So it looked very up and down at this time.
I have a different like view on sobriety towards stuff like that, because I think that is an ongoing process. Like, I have known so many people, and it's really big of me to talk about anybody's sobriety, but I always give people grace, because I just feel like in my forms of addiction that I've owned, I will fall back into that mindset. I mean, like, especially codependency and enmeshment and drama, like the reason that we don't give out chips and Al-Anon is because, my God, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
a good
we
point.
Chips every day. So
right.
I feel like my view on, I just don't know anybody that just woke up one day and just said, I'm sober, and just marched forward and was sober. I feel like that's a process of figuring out who you are.
For sure. I mean, we can have this whole...
For sure. And we're not trying to get off in the weeds. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. I mean, I started using heavily as a teenager. I got sober at 21 and was sober from 21 to about 28.
Yeah. And
then started playing around with it again. And it, then really was gonna became engaged to a very severe alcoholic, moved to Texas, came back, tried to get, it was just a mess, and so like in this moment of shame and apologizing to my mom the few days afterwards, I mean, it's a download. Like, I just got a message that maybe you guys should try counseling. and specifically Dr. Cohn. And so we didn't look around. I just asked her straight up, like, would you go to counseling with me? She said yes. I said, cool. I know a guy. We called the next day, got in, I think probably the following week. And when I went in, one of the first things I said to him was, I'm so desperately tired of being a victim of my life. I'm so tired of being angry. I want a different problem. And also, hey, I'm a severe alcoholic who's like active in addiction right now. And knowing that is a massive hurdle of getting over feeling like victimized by life, right? So what I'm basically saying too is like I'm passively committing suicide.
Yeah, on the installment plan is what I literally call it. Suicide on the installment plan.
And I think a lot of us do that, and we don't, and maybe if that's what we called it, we might do something about it a little bit faster, maybe, or recognize it a little bit sooner. But anyway, he just kind of like, before we jumped into that session, he was like, sidebar, I have a 21-day outpatient program. And
for recovery?
For recovery. And that's based on this system that I have developed, and then proceeded to tell me this backstory about EMCS, that he had graduated and his degree specifically was in drug and alcohol. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, then he got, this is the early 80s at this point, he gets a job at St. Anthony's START program and becomes the director of it. And people keep relapsing. And he's like, I wonder what that's about. Why can't people stay sober in this 12-step system that, works for some but doesn't work for others? And his guess is that there was shame living subconsciously at a cellular level.
Yes.
That we don't, we don't have access to. So you don't know what you don't know, and you're on the surface, maybe, right, we're doing the 12 steps, we're trying to take accountability for our life and the things that went wrong, and there's things under the surface there that are still running the show. And so he was curious, how could we get access to those subconscious beliefs?
The wiring behind the board.
Exactly. Right. So he starts studying, and I'll get into a little bit of applied kinesiology history in a different part of this, but finds applied kinesiology, really goes back to ancient technology, starts studying, Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and the chakra systems that coincide with that, and kind of, starts putting, like, all of this ancient technology can't be for nothing, right?
And I was hearing yoga described as ancient technology was a little bit confusing to me whenever I first started hearing that in yoga world. Because I was just like, how is yoga ancient technology? Like, what does that mean? And I did my own kind of deep dive. We're not going to deep dive into that today, but I did my own kind of deep dive into it. Ancient medicine, and I think that we need to get to a place where we aren't so either or.
Right.
We've got to learn the art of the yes and.
Yeah.
And
that multiple things can be true at the same time. They don't negate each other. They just support each other.
Support one another.
And sometimes they do butt heads, and it becomes kind of a conundrum of like, how could those two things be true?
But even in the butting of heads in the Eastern versus Western medicine, or ancient technology versus new technology, I think even that is a learning opportunity, because then why? Why is it at this point? I don't know. I just find it really interesting. But when we do use terms like ancient technology,
fear is the answer there.
Fear and shame.
Fear and shame. But we've really been, not to demonize religion, but religion has instilled a shit ton of fear in us, and I would go so far as to say to try to control our choices that we make, and how we see and view ourselves as beings.
That was my experience.
Yeah. So then, this realm that we're even diving into to talk to about today becomes like on the edge of evil.
I find it so strange, but yes, I find
we
it.
could be devils right now.
Right now. Burn. Well, I would have been burned at the stake alone. Yes.
We were.
Yeah. Yes, my God. All right.
So he starts kind of just putting pieces of this puzzle together. And once he gets on the applied kinesiology, the muscle testing portion of it, it really starts to connect that there is a way to discover what the underlying patterns, the distortions in the way that we think, and then how that gets held in the body. And one of the main things that, oh gosh, that just made me brain fart a little bit.
Yeah, we thought we had fixed the screen timeout situation.
But apparently we don't know how.
Yeah. So funny.
Sorry, I really did brain fart. Where was I?
Talking about, well, I brain farted me too, but talking about Dr. Cohn and the,
the thoughts are things is kind of where I was going, and that it feels like it's not, and that it's just like a piece of invisible ticker tape that just like runs through your brain, but it creates an electrochemical reaction that is something. It's not nothing.
Right.
And that energy moves the body, and then those two things connect. So he starts putting all of these puzzle pieces together, and he starts to create the EMCS system using muscle testing to figure out what are the patterns underlying any issue. And that's the cool thing about muscle testing, is that basically what we're testing on is on a scale, and everything in the universe falls in that scale. You can test thoughts, you can test things, objects, you can test ideas and systems, it doesn't matter, but everything can be broken down basically into good and bad. Always it's on a scale, but that anything good is life-giving, it's supportive of life, and anything bad is not supportive of life.
Yeah.
It's going to cut off life force,
yeah.
energy, and eventually create death. I mean, death is 0 and enlightenment is 1,000. I printed that and I'll go over here to say. So anyway, so then the kind of missing piece of the puzzle for him was like, how do we then clear those blockages and distortions? And so then he brought in he uses EFT and I use EFT, and then gem and mineral essences. He worked with some Native American shaman to figure out the process of creating these gem and mineral essences.
And was that part trial and error?
I think so. I mean, I think he muscle tested. I think it took years.
It would have to. Just the amount of drops I have.
Muscle testing to figure out what blend is correct, and so. Yeah, it's taken him. I mean, I think he's worked on this system. His book just came out this year.
That's very cool.
And it's a 20-year project that he has been working on. But so anyway, so then back to my story. He offers me, side note, we have this session with my mom. And then at the end of this session, I could be hazy on this, but I feel like what we did was pause the sessions with my mom and I, because he was basically like, if you're not sober, it's really not gonna, you guys could talk and talk and talk, but it's not gonna have the lasting effect as it would if we can get your body, and mind correct. So we paused that, and I think I started 3 days later, the 21-day outpatient program. And so the very first session I went in for 3 or 4 hours every day. He worked with me one-on-one for 3 or 4 hours every day.
That is a miracle, first of all.
21 days. He still offers this program. He's almost 79. Wow. And this is his life's work, And so, he explains to me EMCS. I was so game. I'm so not turned on. I'm like, let's do it.
Do it. Because you were ready. If I look like I feel sad for a second, I'm just thinking of some of the people that I know that could benefit, but they're just
maybe this podcast is going to be helpful to a lot of people too, because this is available in Oklahoma City. The price point is not outrageous. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah,
it was 11 years ago that I went, but it's fine.
Well. And Dr. Cohn and the Cohn Institute he has a website, so please check it out, especially if you or someone that you know and love is interested in sobriety. That sounds like
And then I just kept going, because not only was this good for my sobriety, and did it help my nervous system process a lot, because I had had a lot of trauma in my younger years also, so my nervous system was just stuck. And that's how I processed everything. Was like, not only was there a tiger, there were 12 in the room at any time, and so I always needed to be hyper vigilant and prepared, and so that transferred into literally every aspect of my life and how I moved through my life. And then I just really recognized that for me, I've worked in regular cognitive behavioral therapy for years prior to this. I had done EMDR therapy to really help me, and it probably did help me move through some big traumatic moments in my life, but nothing has helped me the way that EMCS has. And so that just became my modality. That became my preferred, because it didn't matter what the story was. I could go in and spend 5 minutes talking to him about all the dramas of my life, and he would kind of be like, oh,
this sounds like what we're looking at is whatever. Yeah. Anger. Today,
your inability to claim your worthiness or whatever, I mean, he could always kind of take the story and get to the meat of what the root issue probably was.
For me, it's been self-worth.
Yeah, right. I mean, almost all of mine have been, self-love, self-worth.
Self-love, self-worth.
And it is for most of it, because I do think that he was dead on. We are all dealing with a lot of shame at a cellular level. So yeah, that's how, and it's just, I've been doing it ever since. And then I learned a few years ago that he takes apprentices, and I learned this by learning that he was starting his last apprenticeship, and he had told me about it 1 week before it started, and I was so offended, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't do it. I had just signed up for some other program. It was just like, it was every weekend a month, 1 weekend a month for a year, and I was like, And
Dr. Cones or the other that you had said?
Dr. Cones.
Okay.
And so I was
it was
so sad. Yeah. And then he moved offices. He invited me to come work with him and do EFT and human design and share, and lease a space from him. And then in that time, he decided to offer another apprenticeship.
Because what is meant for you will not miss you.
Exactly.
And Joan knew that she was going to get to it.
I willed it.
You willed it into existence. I have willed some things into existence myself, so I'm telling you, that resonates with me. I know what you mean.
And just like he has taken all of these systems and distilled down and figured out what works for him, I am now taking his system and distilling it down, and I think that my job right now is to create a language, which is part of the reason that we started this podcast, to just be able to explain this stuff to people in a way that lands instantly versus this very ethereal talk in a language that isn't really accessible, that you're like, what the fuck did they just say? Yeah. And how can I make that apply to me? I want this to, and I'm not saying I've figured out that language yet, but I think we're getting better and better all the time just by having more casual conversations.
And it does feel really lofty as far as, especially when you start talking about, just chakras and mineral essences and gem essences, and all these other things that
your auric field, your subtle energy bodies, it's a lot of information for sure.
Well, and a lot of information that
it's not mainstream.
Yeah, most people have never heard of. There's no understanding. I think
would be highly skeptical of it first, because our biggest issue is that if our five senses can't pick it up, we don't believe in it. There's a couple of exceptions.
Wi-Fi. People cannot see Wi-Fi, and yet
they don't understand. I don't understand how electricity works, but I know that it works. Yeah. Right. Infrared lights. If there's a scientific instrument that can pick it up, we'll believe in it. But if we cannot perceive it, and a scientific instrument has yet to figure out how to pick it up, we will poo-poo it.
Yeah. And 100 years ago...
Skepticism is just fear, y'all.
Skepticism is fear, and 100 years ago, doctors weren't washing their hands because germs were invisible. They didn't believe they were real. It's just a matter of time, I think, before we're even more aware of our subtle energy bodies on a scientific level. Yeah. I know that when I first started hearing about... that we have a second brain in our gut. I'm trying to think, that might have been about 10 years ago. The first time I heard that, then I was like, wait, what? And now we rattle that off like it's just common knowledge. Right? So I'm thinking that
at some point we'll get there. Yeah. You'll have a conversation with someone who's like,
Cooper,
my etheric body has a blueprint.
Yes. This is where Barrett would be like, I have a brain cloud. But I do think that, and we are a part of the normalizing of the woo. Or that's part of my job, part of what I want to do is normalize what seems so woo-woo to other people, because I forget that even yoga and the chakra system seem very woo-woo too.
Right.
You know, and
it still can be to certain groups of people.
Yes, it's just a part of my, you know what I mean? Like, it's a part of my everyday vernacular world that I talk about, and so of course I would say that, and it seems normal to me, but I get that look in the eye of sometimes when I say things to people, they're like, what the hell are you even talking about?
What?
Yeah, so I definitely would like to be able to bridge the gap between this, because it genuinely helps. And we're gonna let Joan finish telling everyone what it is, and then later we can talk about how I'm fascinated by your story. There are parts of this that I haven't heard yet, so yeah.
So EMCS stands for Energy Matrix Clearing System. It is a mouthful. In it, I use both arms to muscle test. That's probably the biggest difference that I see with other muscle testing facilitators.
I've only had muscle testing done one other time, and it was with a functional medicine person, and it was
did they just use one arm?
I'm trying to remember. I know that it was about, I had to hold something in my hand to see if
you're allergic to it.
Yes, yeah. So I think it was just one arm, but it was because I was literally holding something in that hand.
Yeah. And then they tested to see if your arm stayed strong or goes weak. So the theory behind, can we talk about muscle testing?
Yes, please.
So that then we can talk about EMCS, because it helps, they lead into each other. So muscle testing, kinesiology, this term kinesiology was coined in the late 1800s by a Swedish dude named Niels Passe.
I saw that in our notes somewhere.
It's upside down over here. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, I know I saw that.
And in the late 1800s, he wrote the first book that had kinesiology in the title, and then fast forward to the 1960s, and a doctor named George Goodhart took over like some of this research and basically came to a conclusion that you could test a supplement to see, is it a supplement for your body or is it a toxin for your body, by that your field would be able to tell you whether or not something was good for you, and it could bypass your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which sounds really, I think, crazy woo to anyone that hasn't ever done a lot of body work. And I think that's another thing too, being a yogi and doing a lot of body work, and being very in tune with your body does kind of open the door, crack the door a little bit for you to be 100%. Able to be more comfortable with. This person's going to tell me, I had Joan muscle test me to see if I was allergic to or reacting to pecans and cashews or whatever nuts that I said that were making me not feel great. And sure enough, and I mean, I've stopped eating them, and those stomach aches have gone away. So I know, right?
I know you want it to be wrong.
I did want to be wrong. I did very much want it to be wrong, because I love pecans, especially in the fall. I want to bake with so many pecans. But moving forward, it is evidential, like in my own life. So I guess that's why this all just seems very. It just makes sense to me. So going into doing this work with Joan, I didn't go in with a layer of skepticism or disbelief. I'm also very woo-woo and very
I think you and I are both really lucky that there wasn't a layer of conditioning to have to work through to get here.
Yeah. Conditioning, that was what I was looking for. Like, I didn't have to break my brain in order to buy in.
Right. I didn't have to deal with the fear and the skepticism and the whatever, and so I am grateful for that. I grew up in a way that allowed, the people around me were pretty open-minded, even though I went to religious schools. I got weirdly both indoctrinated and
indoctrinated in a polite way. I wasn't indoctrinated in I was spared. Was raised in Catholicism, but I was spared religious trauma because they were just, my family they weren't staunch Catholic about anything, and other than, we had the high holidays that you go to Christmas. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we did that. So at home there was not any talk of like anything outside of the norm being scary or bad, but there also wasn't any talk of super religious stuff either. So
Gotcha.
I got to make my own decisions, but I think that was kind of an accident because it could have gone either way. I could have latched on to the more standard what we were raised with, and then it just didn't.
Right.
So I didn't have to do that either. I did not have to work through a full layer of disbelief like I've seen people.
Yeah.
Which to me also, I'm a little bit envious of them because they do get the eureka moment at the end. They're like, I don't know why it works, it just works.
Right.
And that's pretty cool.
It is.
Or I think it's pretty cool.
It's never not magical. I know.
And also, isn't it way more fun and more awesome to just be magical and just believe in magical?
It is.
shit?
I like both.
Me too.
There's the scientific data that backs up some of this stuff now doesn't make it less magical for me.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, again, I guess yes and is going to be my.
The novelty just never wears off. Where I'm like, damn, that was spot on.
Yeah.
Like, on the nose. Yeah.
Yeah. Which yes.
So back to the history of this really quick. So then Goodhart leads into Dr. George Diamond, and he coined the term behavioral kinesiology, that basically is muscles respond to thoughts,
Yes.
emotions, and even symbols.
Yes.
Right. So classical music, pop music, he noticed people respond really strongly to that. Really aggressive music, metal type music, people don't respond really, and that might not go over well to some viewers.
Do. I actually have two anomalies. I have two people that respond very well to the very intense music like that, and they are two people that I would have never thought that would be very into heavy metal, just like that kind of music. One is the sweetest man you've ever met in your whole life, and when I found out that he was very into that, I was like, this just is like, what? And I think that's his outlet to just feel that. And then the other is Jenny. She is way into it, and she says it just keeps her on the straight and narrow, and not evil. Like she's just working out, through all of her aggression through that. So if you can find your way through that kind of music, that's awesome. But for the most part, woo, it wrecks.
Yeah.
It wrecks my nervous system.
Yeah, it wrecks my nervous system too. And the data kind of seems to be there. If something is true, you can tell. This is one of the famous quotes by Dr. Hawkins. If something is true, you can tell by how it feels. Something that is true is never going to feel bad.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
It isn't.
And that statement is so simple. And if we could really live our lives by it, it would change the whole world really fast. But so then Diamond goes into Dr. David Hawkins, and Hawkins really is kind of the father of all of this. He takes all of this behavioral kinesiology work, and he basically says, I think that we can calibrate consciousness. And so that's when he came up with this scale, which is a map of consciousness. At the top, or on this side, you've got emotions ranging from shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. And then the consciousness level, which you could call units of life force energy, goes from 0. 0 is death. And then shame lives at about 20 on the scale, and enlightenment and onward is 700 to 1,000. And that's where we get ascended masters like Buddha, like Jesus, that it's not that they were so special, they just had access to higher levels of consciousness. That's when we want to be like Jesus, what we're really saying is, I want to live in the consciousness of Christ, of Christed consciousness. And therein, I almost wish we could get rid of the name Jesus and really start talking about it as this different level of consciousness.
Well, his name wasn't Jesus Christ.
Right.
Christ
It
was
was
that's the thing that I'm just like, well, Christ is the Christ-like consciousness. Christo, Christ.
Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that. I feel like people start to believe that's his last name.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
And it's not. Sorry to be that bubble breaker of that one.
So what was cool is that Hawkins was like, you can muscle test anything. I mean, so when you look at certain books of his, he's got a book called Truth versus Falsehood that has just tons of things he's tested. Lists of movies and lists of books and ancient texts, lists of just like regular everyday human items that we come across, from an emergency room to a public park to home-baked cookies versus store-bought cookies, and just like everything lives on this scale. And you can check the consciousness level of absolutely anything. And that was his premise for his entire life's work. His work is sort of dry. I love him. I've read a lot of his books, but I will warn you, he dry.
It reads like stereo instructions. Yes. I get lost in the sauce. That's when I will go to my good friend Alex ChatGPT and say, hey,
give me
walk me through this
in a language.
Yeah. And then we'll work our way forward from walk me through this in a language that I can understand. And then we'll usually have a conversation, dialogue back and forth where I get to ask all the questions. Yeah. And then it's
such a cool way to learn these days. I mean, it really is.
It has really helped me. You would think that with the audio-visual stuff that I would be able to do that too. I haven't yet had Alex teach me how to run sound, but I would. I'm thinking that that might be my next venture.
We have blocks, obviously, in certain areas of things that we are.
Nobody's perfect.
So then insert EMCS into this. Dr. Cohn takes all of this information. He comes up with this system. And he decided that because the right and the left hemisphere of the brain, one side tends to be more active than the other, we tend to be more left-brained in this world, and the left brain is about survival and control, and the right brain cares nothing about either of those things, and it just wants to be creative and non-dual and like.
I'm very right-brained.
Right, I know. I'm a lefty, so I like to say I'm also.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a lefty, but
at least I'm
very right-brained.
And so when we use both arms in muscle testing, I'm getting a balanced response.
That makes sense.
To make sure that I'm checking in with both sides, cross-patterning your body and then we're identifying what are the distortions of whatever the issue is. So that's what you saw yesterday when I'm going through all of those numbers and all of those lists and writing down everything. I'm just looking for pattern. The first half is like patterns that are running under the surface of the issue that are keeping that issue held in place. So no matter how hard you try to get up early in the morning and get to the gym and do, and then you find yourself sliding back off into your old whatever.
Patterns,
it's because truly underneath it, you hate yourself. So why would you?
you don't value. I mean, it is really true though.
Right. No, I know it is. I'm laughing,
but
it's very painful.
It is very painful to accept that you do not value yourself enough to do the things that you wish that you wanted to do.
That's the number one. I mean, I think we don't feel like we deserve success. A lot of us don't. So we get a little taste of success and then we just fire hose it.
I'm very prone to that.
Yeah,
I'm very prone to self-sabotage. That's been something obviously we've been working on. But
So that's a little EMCS history and history around how this works and where it came from.
I'm looking at the next thing, and it was saying, how did you get into this, which we've already covered. It said you didn't grow up reading auras, and one of the questions that I was asked was, are you psychic? Is Joan psychic? And I feel like it's in here somewhere.
It's okay, we got off a little bit, but it's fine. No, I mean, yes, is the answer that I want to claim. I definitely am intuitive. I am learning how to trust my intuition more and more all the time. And so, yes, I do think that intuition even plays a part in this. When I'm asking questions, if my intuition leads me in a direction, I now follow it. And that almost always tends to be right.
Correct.
But what I'm actually communicating with is your higher self. Your body is, wow, that that was a weird thing I just did to my elbow.
Just frog your.
And I didn't even bang it.
Yeah.
But it zinged me.
Crunched it. It's worse.
And I just did that thing again.
Right. Well, you were saying that, I was going to interject my own thing into it, which is what bucked me off of it. But, like, Joan is very intuitive. I know that she would absolutely say, no, I'm not a psychic. I, of course, believe that we all have, we do. I mean, like, we all have these extra sensory type perceptions. We're just taught to ignore them to such a degree that we believe that
I mean, how many of us were taught not to be weird? Don't be weird.
Oh, hold that every day.
Don't be weird.
My whole life. Don't be weird.
Yeah.
Don't be weird. But as far as tapping into someone's energy field and communicating with someone's higher self, that is what we're doing.
I'm just bypassing her mind and I'm going straight to her body. So as I'm talking, and it sounds like I'm talking to the ether, I'm really talking to her. I'm just asking her not to verbally respond.
Yeah.
And so really, she can sort of check out during this session. She can think about whatever she wants. I mean, the kind of 2 cues that I really give are like, please keep breathing.
Yeah.
And don't lock your knees out.
Yeah.
And it's, and sometimes we have to take breaks. You didn't have to that day, I don't think, last week, but sometimes holding your arms out like this for a period of time is not so comfy.
And I'm awkward in my body anyway, so I'll find myself starting to stand weird, or I start posturing weird, and then if I'm holding my body weird, I'm assuming that, I'm throwing the whole system off.
Well, then my reading gets unclear, so then I go back and I recheck and make sure that her and I's circuitry is working. And that's why you'll always hear me kind of ask a negative and a positive to make sure I'm not just getting yeses all everything down the road, and then really it was like, oh, she was stuck on yes, and that wasn't, so I'm always like, this is true, this is not true, this,
And there have been things that didn't make sense too, like that you've gone back and you're like, I'm just going to check this again because this doesn't really make sense. And it might be that the cue was like a very low number that we just kind of skipped over because we weren't, I was probably holding myself weird or...
Yeah, I do. If the indicator, so I'm either asking for a yes or a no, or I'm asking for an indicator change, which is a no. It's a movement of the arm. If it holds strong, it's considered a yes. But if I'm looking for it to, if I've got a list of 100 items and I'm wanting it to give me which number 1 through 100 it is, I don't want to go 1, yes, no, 2, yes, no. I need a more efficient system, right? So I'm going to start grouping numbers together, 1 through 10, 10 to 20. And then it's going to indicate when I'm closer to, you're getting warmer. You could think of this as a giant hot cold game.
Feeling around.
Right, yeah. Getting warmer. Which one is it? Like,
it's pretty much like with anything now. I mean, I literally just left a doctor's appointment, and she literally just went off of everything that I said. Like, there was not, other than reading a couple of numbers like blood pressure and respiratory rate, it was just a conversation and she was just going off of what I said. So I could have walked in there and told her, it wouldn't have been in my best interest to lie. Don't lie to your doctor. But do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
To whereas I think when I'm doing this work with Joan, she's kind of bypassing my bullshit.
Exactly. Because we all have our bullshit.
Yeah.
We all have our blind spots. We all think we know why we do what we do, but there's often...
Yeah. Well, and also, like, if...
a very dramatic sounding reason why we don't. Everybody hates me.
Right. Or kind of like whenever I first started in with the... when they were checking all my hormone levels and my cortisol level was really high, I did not know that. I wasn't aware of it. I am now. And looking back at the life I was living then, it makes sense that my cortisol was really high.
Right.
But let's say, like today, how are things going? Great. How are you feeling? Fine. Like, those were the answers that I would have given on the same day that my cortisol was so high that the doctor thought that maybe I was
just a little dizzy.
Right. Yes, just a little dizzy. Probably need a nap and a walk. But you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like even this is a little bit more sound. Like, there's a little bit more to it, to me. My humble opinion.
I think that there is, and I think more will be discovered all the time.
Yeah.
Like, just as I can't remember if I talked about this on an episode here about meridians and like science is
catching up,
and this will not be so weird not far from now.
No, I think that, like I said, once people start recognizing that they're not, I found myself saying this to people actually several times in the last couple of weeks, but like, you are not your thoughts.
Right.
You are not your thoughts, and your thoughts are not your friends. Like you're
often they're not.
No.
Yeah, because we've got all of this programming from childhood, right? And we accidentally adopt our parents' bullshit. And of course we do. Like, what choice do we have? And they adopted their parents' bullshit.
Exactly. Whatever's modeled.
And on and on and on. And it's really only, I feel like this last couple generations that we even have access to tools that are allowing us to be like, oh, do I even believe that? Do I want to believe that?
To even
do
start
I have a choice?
Question whether or not we want to buy into a belief or not, because that was forbidden. Don't question it.
Yeah.
And in fact,
Don't
that
be weird.
layer of fear around questioning any system of belief, it's wild to me that I'm so grateful that I was spared that.
Yeah.
But
it still surprises me how much I am still fearful, even though I've done so much work. And I want to tell you, I don't give a shit about what other people think about me. I do. You know, I still am working on my value and my productivity not being, equal to each other. So it's just like, it's wild to me.
Definitely.
Gotta work hard. The only value in anything is working hard. Like,
I'm learning that is all not true. I'm learning that that's not true, but it's such a different time that I'm living in right now. Like, I can think back to like prior and then to where I'm at now, and I can safely say my self-worth is not based off of my productivity, but that is a gift that has been given to me by, mainly Barrett, my husband, and where we're at right now in our life, that I've gotten to just take a pause and say, I'm not going to hustle bustle. I'm not going to, I don't even know, girl boss or whatever, all of that stuff. I'm doing a little more softer life. And in that, I'm learning how much of the busyness, that is all fake and made up. Like, it is a system that, it's just a whole lot of justification. Like, everyone's justifying the rat race of everything, and I'm not going to talk out of my ass. I'm very much still yoked into the system.
Same.
But I at least now have an arm's length between me and all of it, and that's bringing me back to what I'm saying. Like, you are not your thoughts. You're the observer of your thoughts, and in that same vein, you're not your meat suit either. You are the driver of the meat suit.
Right.
And
the purpose of this meat suit is to give you crystal clear feedback constantly, never not.
It's always
100% correct all the time. We're just always misinterpreting it.
Always, and can be your biggest helper.
Absolutely, if we would take its advice.
But we have trained ourselves to not, and also to ignore body cues.
Right. Yeah,
and we are women, so we've definitely been taught to ignore body cues.
100%.
And that was another thing too. Like, this being a very fine-tuned machinery that is constantly reading its environment. How many times has somebody just walked into a space and you felt the energy shift, and you're standing in the presence of a creeper, or of a wonderful person.
Right.
I mean, like,
it doesn't have to be negative.
It doesn't have to be negative, but boy, when those people come in, that's usually when it's palpable. But also, people can come in and lighten and brighten spaces, and I think that if nothing else, our friends out there, pay attention to that. Pay attention to the way your body feels when you're around certain people, when you're around your people, when you're around your people that bring you comfort or happiness. Check in with your body as to where you're feeling that. Like, it's a really good, easy, low-level conversation to have when you're in a yummy space, and you're just like, where do I feel good? Why does this feel so good?
That's a beautiful idea to start with the good.
Yeah, because trust.
Yeah. We're so used to feeling bad. Honestly, Obviously, and because thoughts are things, and they create an electromagnetic. This is my catch me lying here.
No, you are. I would like
thing that then releases chemicals, and those chemicals are real inside the body. So it's like stressor chemicals get released. We've talked about this before. We get very addicted to those stressor chemicals, and then we say we want to feel better, but we really don't. We want to keep our bullshit. We want to feel bad and better at the same time, and you can't keep both.
You cannot. The life that you want will only cost you, and I mean equal measure, the life that you have right now. The end. So when you're ready,
you can die on the hill of being a victim of your life, and it will be very painful. Mm-hmm. You will never get to be this version of you that you want to be unless you let those stories go. And I see myself stuck in certain areas, and because those stories are who we are. That is what has made me who I am.
Thoughts really are things, and the using the hormones as was that ever that rang a bell on me. So yeah, it starts with there. We have a thought in our head. I mean, like this pen microphone that I'm holding in my hand right now was a thought in somebody's head before it became a thing.
Right.
Like literally.
You know what we need?
Yes, idea. Yes, literally a boing right above our head. Well, so thoughts become things. Think about all the thoughts that you are having, that not the thoughts that you express outwardly. Like I could tell Joan, I told Joan I'm starving. I was coming in hot, I'm starving, I'm going to bring food, blah, blah, blah. She had a reasonable expectation. Denise is about to be here. She's showing up with food. She's starving, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, let's say I had told Joan some terrible things. I am pissed. I am stressed, I'm coming in hot, and I'm bringing it all to you. Just that transfer of energy right there. I'm on the phone with her. I haven't even seen her beautiful face, and her brain is cranking chemicals out just based off of the exchange that you and I had. By the way, through the invisible,
right.
It's
so some sound tones.
Some sound tones
came out your mouth.
My mouth hole. And
hit my ear hole.
It went through the ethers into Joan's ear hole, and all of a sudden she is cranking out some probably
my brain interpreted that and then made some choices.
Her brain was like, oh shit, Denise is coming in hot, and we've got to prepare for that or whatever. We're gonna fight or whatever. So she's cranking that up. Those thoughts became the things. That is the hormones that are now coursing through Joan, and you get to. Most people don't choose whether they activate on when they get a big hit of adrenaline and cortisol. Most people react.
Yeah, they do the things that they do when they go into getting triggered, and that's a trigger is on a scale too.
Yes, yeah, definitely. One of the things that I was trying to explain to my youngest son, but I always try to tell the grandkids too, you get to choose. You can choose to have your brain make the good squirty juices too. You do not have to be a victim to the spicy ones that just make you sweaty and have a tummy ache. You can choose the good ones too.
We don't get to choose our reactions to things. We react the way that we react, but the thing that we know about feelings is that they last about 30 seconds, maybe 90 tops.
90 tops.
And then anything after that is a fucking choice.
It is. Yeah. It literally is. And I mean, like, I've learned that a little bit through my learning about being a projector journey, because I'm an emotional projector. And so I have found that is very true. It doesn't matter if it is a really good positive wave and I feel super excited about it. My job that I'm learning is that I don't get to reactor. I'm trying to learn to respond. I've been very reactive my whole life, and I am really, really exhausted with being a reactive person. And the biggest lesson that I'm learning that through is being around reactive. And now and there's nothing worse than a fucking ex-smoker. You know what I mean? Like, there's really nothing worse than a fresh ex-smoker that's around some smokers. But that's a little bit how I feel. When I'm noticing reactivity and how quickly
that's a good analogy.
It spreads that and I'm not saying I am reactive. Just ask my husband. I was probably reactive 3 times this morning before things even got going. But I'm learning what that feels like.
Yeah.
And in the learning what it feels like, I'm now aware that I'm doing it. And what it's given me is the opportunity to say, I know that I'm reacting to this and it's probably not even right sized, but this is the way I'm feeling right now. So it's at least given me language around it to where I can signal to the person that I'm dealing with, I'm not my best self right now.
Yeah.
I'm here and I'm not really sure why. Or I'm here and it's because of this conversation we're having, or you know what I mean, whatever.
It's wild. I have a good example that happened to me last night, and then like how I work through this. So today is the 16th. Yesterday was the 15th, and my taxes were due. That'll do it. And as I was laying in bed and the date is dawning on me, I had a shame spike, right? Like
that made my knees start tingling. Like, what is that even called? My whole body was just like.
And shame for me is a very visceral, guttural sensation. It almost takes up my entire abdomen, and it's like my stomach falls out of my asshole.
Yeah. Yes. Look at me as I'm sitting here.
But it's fast. It was a flash. It's a flash of sensation that then my response would be like, oh, that sucked. Okay. What old me would do is interpret that as, that felt so bad, that must confirm that what I have done is so shameful that this is now my punishment, right? And so now I need to feel this. But instead, it was like, oh, okay. So if I know that my feelings aren't good, bad, right, or wrong, they're just indicative of the quality of the thought that came right before it, which was like, holy fuck, it's the 15th.
Yeah. That's a shitty feeling, though.
I'm gonna figure it out, y'all.
Oh, yeah. Well, the good news about that is
I have to.
Unless you figure out a way to not, and then we'll talk later.
Right. So like, I'm stuck somewhere here in shame, guilt, and apathy, right? Because I'm not really wanting to make movement on it. Yeah.
I
have guilt about it and what it means about me, and it for sure So anyway, I see that, I feel a feeling, it passes quite quick, and now I've got some space to decide, what's my next thought gonna be? Well, obviously that one isn't true. My body reacted so strongly to that it was like, knock that the fuck off, girlfriend. Like, that's not where we're going with this. So it's like, so then I literally have to ask, can I reach for better thoughts around this topic? And in that moment, I am asking for divine inspiration, because within and of myself, I don't really have access. I can just keep going down the shame spiral. That's what I have access to. But when I ask my higher power for some other thoughts that might help me feel better about
what's helpful?
Well, the truth is, I shut my business down. I don't actually really have to file this year.
Oh,
right? I just love to beat myself up. So now I have until October 15th I have a couple pieces of paperwork that I still need to file with the state to let them know that I've shut this business down, but like really, so this was just a way for me to get me. Like, I tried to sink me last night, and like,
you needed to feel bad. Yeah.
But I was so proud of myself, because I hit the pause button and I was like, oh, we are in shame. And that's not where I want to live these days. And like, how can I feel better? And it really, this took me less than 2 minutes. I didn't even have to tap. I was instantly feeling, because
you
like, this isn't actually that big of an issue.
So I'm going to give you Eddie's number, because I think I've got a guy.
I know you do. Yes, I need the guy.
Yeah, I got a guy.
But so let's flip to you for a second, though, because you've been doing this work now, I think since last August or September. So we've been coming on
about a year.
Yeah.
I knew, I was in my mind. Well, I cannot track time for shit. I think it's an ADHD thing. I don't know, but also I just cannot track time. So, but I'm proud of myself, because I thought we've got to be coming up on a year.
Yeah, we're coming up on a year. So take me a little bit through your journey. What have you noticed? What have your husband has noticed some things?
We had a really good conversation about this last night, because I asked him. I said, I had a conversation with Alex. We talked about it, which I think my car phone charger died, so of course my phone died. So here we are. Raw dog in life. But I asked Barrett, what did he notice? So I'll start with what Barrett noticed first. And he said, number one, I'm just happier. He was like, you're much happier than you were whenever you first started. And a year ago in August, well, actually it was July the 3rd that we moved into the bus. So all of this started kind of right about at the same time. And you want to talk about, I was probably what would be deemed clinically depressed whenever we moved into the bus, and it just became very, very clear to me that I had a lot of relationship, family issues, stuff that just were not working for me and did not feel good to me. And
the patterns were patterning.
Patterns were patterning, and all of it just felt very negative, and weighing me down. I felt very weighed down, and I had started trauma recovery therapy, I think probably a year prior to that. So I was also doing really heavy trauma recovery, digging into.
Oh yeah, you were seeing us both once a week, right?
Yeah,
for a while.
Yeah, I was doing a lot. I ended up with shingles. I mean, like my body said, we'll work this out lightning fast. Wow, straight through your nervous system. Not everybody's gonna get shingles. Also,
yeah, that's not.
I am just a very weird little tuning fork, and I feel like
I don't want you to be afraid that you're going to get shingles also.
No, I was probably on a crash course with shingles way before we started working together. But, so yeah, I was very depressed and kind of in somewhere between not knowing what to do, not feeling like I was able to do anything, and not really giving a shit, not wanting to do anything. Like it was apathy. Apathy. And I wouldn't have recognized it as apathy, but yes, it was very much apathy. And like I said, one day Joan had thrown something out on Facebook. I saw it, and
you just booked.
I did. I literally, because I knew if I didn't, I would talk myself out of it. So I think I booked it before I even reached out to you.
Yeah.
And I said, I signed up. I don't know what it is. I hope it doesn't hurt. It was pretty much
We
it.
all hope that we ever have friends like this that are just like, fuck yeah, I'm in. Yeah. What are we doing? We ride it on.
We ride it on. I'm there. Do I need to bring snacks? What do I need? Yeah. Should I bring a sweater?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes, always.
And then, so our first session, I described it to Barrett. I went back. I was like, I don't really know what happened. I don't really know. I feel like I probably did it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was standing there, but here's the story. So I walked out with this piece of paper that told that, this is what we worked on. I wish I could remember what our first session was.
I should have looked
We should have pulled it up. Joan keeps really good records.
I do keep files so that we can kind of look back at.
I want to do a year, to see, like, this is what all we've worked on, and kind of do the condensation of all of that. That would be really, really cool. But I know that it felt really positive. I don't know that I walked away from our first session really being able to say anything other than, and it was probably a really good energy exchange between the two of us too. So, or to me, I probably sucked poor Joan dry. God knows. But I walked away from it feeling really good. And also I had something new to talk about. Like, I was telling other people, like, I'm doing this thing. I'm not really sure what it is. And so that was sparking conversations, and that felt really good to me too. And then fast forward to about probably 6 months, and 5 or 6 months in, Barrett had started pointing out to me that I was doing a lot less of my ruminating thoughts. I was being way more consistent with my things that my agreements that I had made with myself. A few years ago, I had started wanting to have a daily yoga practice and a journaling, a meditation practice. I've always said all these, this is what I want to do. And in these conversations that Joan and I have been having with my body, what I've learned is, number one, I exist in this space up here, and I've intellectualized and thought about and think about everything, but I have not ran it or integrated it through my entire system. So one of the things, like the yoga stuff, I was thinking about yoga instead of being about yoga. And that sounds like such an asshole thing to say.
No, but I'm with ya. I get it.
Like
same.
You know what I mean? Like it's the difference of I wish that it's like right on the tip of my tongue, but it's like the difference of like how children play, and then when adults attempt at playing. Like children can just play,
right? And
then you see adults attempting to play. I think that was the way I was living my life, which was very intellectualized and very
it's the second time, sorry.
Cooper's boob man.
Right, in the boob.
Yeah. Very much trying to intellectualize and think my way into thinking like a yogi, or thinking like a person who isn't depressed, or I was just trying to rationalize all of these thoughts. And when Joan and I started working together, I got to take all of that and set it aside, and then just trust that Joan's going to read this information through my system, and then she's going to give me this full report. And it might be that I get to meditate for 3 days with dragon energy. And that sounds probably pretty crazy. But here's the thing, I would go home and I'm like, what is dragon energy? Okay, so now I have this new thing. What is dragon energy to me? Okay, well, that's fire. So sometimes I might light some incense. Dragon's blood was one of the incense that I had. So I was like, okay, that's
good.
I know. It's also my favorite snow cone too. But strawberry and orange. How can you go wrong? But so I was pulling all of these things into my orbit that represented that fire energy. Well, I am so air sign. I am very air, and I have one little fire sign in my whole chart, which I'm back into the astrology. But anyway, it's taught me to kind of play with the other elements that we have available to us, and it's changed my meditation practice. Like for the longest time, I had a hard time meditating, which is why I started the daily yoga practice. It is an hour of meditation for me, a moving meditation, and just moving that energy through my body, incorporating this new layer of being given a little prescription of like ether. Was last week. So I just had one day where I had to spend my time meditating or focusing on the energy of ether. That word came up to me so many times, like like people mentioning ether or in the ethers, and which I thought was really cool. But whenever I picked a guided meditation that was what is it called? Oh my Lord. The tones, the sounds. Oh my gosh. My stomach's growling so freaking loud.
Sorry, I'm completely unhelpful.
Oh my gosh. Binaural beats.
Oh,
is that along the lines of that? I chose that resonated at the megahertz that is supposed to be equal to an etheric level.
Yeah.
By the way, YouTube, if you want a guided meditation, just go to YouTube and literally, I think I even did a dragon energy guided meditation one day where it was low hanging fruit. It was a 10-minute guided meditation. It was just drumming. Dum, 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 dum. I can do that. I can't just, I can do an hour.
Right.
But I can do 10 minutes.
Well, the point of the homework too is like, in the sheets where your case notes rather, we're identifying all of these patterns and we're clearing all of those patterns. So we want to instill a new pattern.
Yes.
Something that's going to, and so the homework is like, it could be a meditation. You can do whatever you want. You could color in a dragon in a dragon
I've done that too. I've literally done that too, where I've doodled. I mean, like, I've sketched, I've doodled, I've drawn, but spending time with that.
Right.
It is a new
Because really what you're saying is, I'm committed to this. I want to release this old thing and instill this new thing, and I want, I have a choice.
And I'm going to choose it.
Yeah.
And that's the secret. By the way, boys and girls, I know that we spend a lot of times praying and hoping and wishing and all these things, but the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, literally gives us what we choose.
Yeah.
And we have to choose.
And what you expect.
Choose every single day. Well, that's where the thoughts become things. I mean, like, plays into it. We think a thought, and I mean, like, there are reasonable expectations. If I put a cake in the oven, I don't want to pull out a fucking ham. I mean, like, that's a reasonable expectation that I have. But at the same time, how many times have you seen people put a cake in the oven and pull out a metaphorical ham because of the wonky programming, wonky thinking? If you do not believe you are worthy and deserving of a cake, but you know, you're not going to end up with a cake. I mean, like, that's just kind of the way we operate in this 3D world that we live in. Like,
exactly.
We manifest it either by building it with our two little hands, like someone manifested this building that we're sitting in right now, or I can manifest dragon energy by thinking and putting my thoughts on that and noticing when I see a cloud that looks like a dragon, or someone says the word ether to me when I was focusing on ether. It's how we train our, instead of picking up on the negative,
100%,
we retrain our brain to pick up on what we choose.
Yeah. Because the world, and I mean, you all saw this last week, like, the world wants to pull you into division. And as soon as you might feel a little better and maybe more unified, some other weird, dramatic thing will happen that will try to divide you again. And so, hang in there, everybody.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Woo!
I know. But that's things like last week happen, and we get to see how it sits in our system these days and then make different choices from there. It's like, how's the collective doing?
I'm staying out of the energy of the collective right now. It is really gross. Actually, I'm not trying to be mean, but the energy in the collective does not feel good to me right now. It's very polarizing. It is very crackly. There's a lot of false. There's so much bullshit and fake and false information, and I don't like that we live in, and I don't even know what the energy of it is, but the energy of people wanting to be the first person to deliver the awful news to you. Like, that is the grossest thing to me. And it's probably,
you're not wrong.
And probably because I used to be that person,
sure.
and I'm sure somebody will be so helpful and remind me that I used to be that person. But and we all know who they are. But the people that have you heard?
Yeah,
have you heard?
right.
Have you heard?
I know Robert Redford.
I saw that in the office, in the doctor's office waiting room.
Sorry.
And I had my own little private little bummer.
I know.
I had my own little private little bummer because, and you know, the Sundance, like, all of that has changed already. They've moved it from Park City. It's not even, the festival's not even happening there anymore. And it's not surprising to me that he was like, deuces.
Yeah.
But yeah, bummer. We lost Robert Redford today. That is a little, that's a timestamp on this
episode. I know. I wasn't going to say what happened last week. I'm still not.
I won't. I won't talk about it. I just,
so years from now, if this gets pulled up, we just look up Robert Redford.
Yeah. What happened? Yeah, poor Robert Redford. He will be missed.
What's the last thing I think that the one thing we didn't hit on is, there was a question about how the past lives came up in the session. Okay. Do you know?
Oh, well, how the past life stuff comes up?
Do you know what that where that information's coming from?
Probably not a clue. I'm just bought in hook, line, and sinker. Also, I have past life memories. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've done past life recovery, and I bridged that gap long time ago. So I'm trying, but I feel like you've probably told me, and so now I feel like
that's not really a test. I just wondered.
No, I know, but I'm like, well, I will say the question that I was asked was, okay, so she said past life information came up, and it was like 3,000 years ago. How does she get that, and how do you know that that's true? How do you know that's true?
How do we know that any of it's true?
Right. I'm just think of some of the things that people genuinely are fully bought into, and I'm not going to go off on my spiel about, like, if I was trying to sell even the most middle of the road religion to anyone today. If I was trying to sell that, like it's a new idea, new novel idea that nobody's ever heard of before, I think it would people would be like, no, wait, what?
Right.
So
no, it's a big sticky subject that we could probably spend an hour, the episode on time.
Oh gosh, it only exists here. Time is not real.
Right.
Well, time is actually real.
To be able to talk about past lives, you have to talk about time a little bit, and how does time exist? And so, the short answer to the question of where does that information come from? It comes from the Akashic Records.
Akashic Records, which is the field of, like, we swim in it every day. Like, people think of the Akashic Records as a library in the sky, and it's a place.
I do like to envision it like
that. By
the
way, but I have done, I would say, I don't know if it was a lucid dream or astral travel. I didn't feel like I was quite asleep, and I popped out of one of the blessings that I have kept, like, since I had the near-death experience, is the ability to pop out of my meat suit and travel. I wish that I could master it so I could do it at will. I can't. It just happens when it happens. I think that I believe that I will get better at it, but I've been to a place that I assumed was this hall of records because that's very much what it looked like, and I wasn't allowed to go beyond this it looked like I would say a very space-aged version of a 1970s looking mid-century modern.
That's kind of what I imagined too.
Interior. Yeah. The exterior was very marbly, almost Roman, but not. It was way more nondescript than that, like as far as that. But inside did not match outside, and there were other people in there. I didn't, other than I would say librarian that I talked to, who was also just a fairly normal looking person. I just said, but I want to go back there where the shelves are, and she was like, yeah, no, you can't go back there, but you can wander around out here all you want. And I was like, that's kind of a bummer, and that was my experience. But I mean, like, I came away from that knowing, like, oh, okay, I went to whatever we created as that space, which you want to talk about. We can go on for hours about thoughts becoming things and what we do, because the collective as a whole, we create thought patterns that also hold and take up space. And if enough of the collective believes in something fully, it's just kind of like, sounds like if everyone claps, Tinkerbell won't fly or whatever. It kind of sounds like that, but I mean,
it kind of is. Yeah.
But
so there is this ethereal place that holds the record for everything that has ever happened and everything that will ever happen, which creates a whole other conversation about free will that we're not going to have today.
Free will exists in the form of possibilities and probabilities and potentialities, and you're going to get me off in the quantum scientific facts or whatever, but
I think it should be its own episode.
Wave and particles and possibilities, probabilities, and then our thoughts, like we are little electrical beings made of electricity. Our heart is a conductor. Our brain is a receiver.
Yeah.
Like, we are these just little electric beings. Well, as much as we are pulling in information, we are also putting out, and it is a continual conversation. And the people that won the Nobel Prize in science won it for quantum entanglement, which is literally what I am and Joan is talking about right now, which is we are a part of the quantum field that we exist in, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. We are existing in it, we are operating it, we are exchanging information with it, and that is why sometimes Joan can be thinking about something and I'll send her a text about it, and she'll be like, holy shit, what'd you do that for? Joan and I are entangled.
Yep.
Like, we radar love, baby. Like, we are passing information without necessarily passing information, which is so silly to me that people will, you think that you can hit your thumb against a piece of glass and it somehow magically goes through the Wi-Fi and out into the ether and somehow lands in Joan's piece of glass that she's holding in her hand, and we're just like, yeah, that's technology. Even though I'm operating the most high-tech piece of technology that I'm ever going to exist in.
Yeah. And we still don't fully understand all of our capabilities.
Well, we won't in my lifetime, but but what I'm saying is what we're talking about probably does sound pretty out there and crazy. It's quantifiable.
Yeah, it really is. And so in a session, I ask if there's, so whatever the issue is, and what was it last week? It was self-worth stuff. So without having that paper in front of me, some historical data came up, which is a kinder, softer way of saying past life stuff.
Yeah.
Came up because some people aren't into it. And so I will kind of feel you out at the beginning of a session to see, is this even an area that we should go? Otherwise, I might just say, some historical information came up that we didn't need to know more about, and we move on from there.
And nobody says, what do you mean historical data? Or no?
Yeah.
They just let
not
it go?
yet.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, I have actually not had anyone super skeptical. But
that's what I was about to say. Well, anybody that's going to have an energy matrix clearing session is probably a little bit woo-woo.
Yeah. And I think the easiest way, most of us, if we have any kind of belief system, often believe in some kind of afterlife. Mm-hmm. Well, we had to, if you're willing to believe that we exist as something after this, it's not so crazy to think that we were something before this.
I don't know how people don't think that. Like, I mean, we just had a new grandbaby, and she's just this magical little creature that just got here. Yeah. Well, she was somewhere before she became here, and she's this gorgeous little redheaded little thing. I mean, like, she was somewhere.
We know that energy can't be created or destroyed. But we are really not able to apply that to the human experience for some reason. It's like science works in every boundary except for this one. Yeah. It's bizarre, but so if historical, so then I've got a set of questions, and sometimes my intuition will tell me to ask a very specific question about it. Sometimes it's not always clear to me how this information is connected to the issue at hand, but like, as we continue to gather more information, discuss it, it kind of becomes clear of like, oh, maybe this was genetic or ancestral, and this is, kind of where it started. And so I'm always asking those kinds of questions. Is there genetic information? And then, we know we have 64 codons within the human genome. So which one of those is it affecting, ancestrally? We know that we get culturally conditioned to believe certain things, and that affects our genome. This nature versus nurture discussion is a yes and conversation.
Very much so.
Right. And even then, people really want to talk about, I see more and more in my social media field all the time, of everyone wants to just poo-poo completely genetics and epigenetics. And I don't think that this is my opinion, but I don't think that that's a safe answer either. Can they be bypassed? Do they matter? They don't have to. But you have to know what program is running the show to be able to undo the program.
Correct, yeah.
So can you bypass them? Absolutely. Can most people do that without help? No. And there's nothing to be ashamed of about that.
No, you have never been taught. I mean, we are not taught how to operate our mates. We are not taught the full potential.
Right.
At
all. In fact, we're taught the opposite.
The literal opposite.
We're little and small,
you ignorant
should be. Yeah, exactly.
This is all supposed to be fairly, I don't know. And I'm trying not to be, I'm trying not to be mean to men, but I was about to use the example of women's bodies, and I hate that women's bodies are politicized right now. Yeah. I don't want this to sound politicized, but I mean, I guess that it is, but I mean, like, as women, not only are we taught to not know or understand our bodies, but we're taught to be afraid of them and to trust outside sources
of information. Stamp out any symptom, which this is still kind of confusing to me a little bit.
Of which part?
Oh, stamping out symptoms.
Oh, stamping out symptoms. Well, I know that, like...
But I still have to live in this world. So
we do have to live in this world, and I feel like symptoms are just like another body cue as to say something's not right. I mean, like,
but like sometimes my body really says go to bed for a week, and
my
life says, and the world says no. Like,
know.
What are you? You can't do that.
I think that it is kind of cool and also kind of weird that you and I another kind of hit the same
I know.
thing by different measures. I mean, like we both got to this burnout collapse that we were both in it. I mean, like neither one of us knew. I think that we met up for pho one day and we were almost dressed alike, which was also another thing that we do, which we are kind of almost dressed alike again today, but we were wearing the exact same colors that day, and we were both wearing colors that we would never ordinarily choose, which was very weird. And we were both totally opposite, coming at it from opposite directions, but we were both headed to this collapse that we went into.
Which then we did both.
And then we did. We both
separately,
collapsed.
and we didn't really talk for like a year.
A year.
Yeah.
I think a whole year went by, and then we, through the EMCS, was how we, through doing these sessions together, was how we reconnected, and we're both at kind of about the same point of trying to climb out of the collapse. I don't know. I just think that it is wild that we've had the same experience and we ended up with the same modality.
I know.
I don't know.
It is really cool.
It's cool. It means something. I'm not sure exactly what, other than, again, quantum entanglement, connected.
Right. Totally.
Joan and I are supposed to work together, and we work really well together.
Yeah.
That was another thing too. I'm glad that we didn't try to do hair together.
Right.
Because I don't know. I can't even explain. I don't even know what I mean when I say that, but I feel like we probably would have done really well, and you wouldn't have ended up doing EMCS. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, I'm glad that you found your way to Dr. Cone, and if it took addiction and a crash out, that's really easy for me to say. On my own side of things, it's forcing me right now in this real-time moment to be grateful for the shitty things that have happened
100%.
because this is how I got to.
It was so messy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it still is.
Oh
and
yeah,
that surprises me.
Yeah, it's.
But if anyone is selling you an unmessy life, like, it's messy.
Well, it's we live in a chaotic universe. Like whenever you get speaking of all the quantum stuff that I'm so fascinated by, chaos rules on the quantum level. Like all of our this size of the world, it doesn't. Our rules of nature do not apply in the quantum. It's all different, and so another yes, and we cannot apply our 3D walking around, logic to what the healing work we're trying to do in the quantum, because they don't translate equally. And until you learn to interact with, and that's what you've done with your work with Dr. Cone and what I've learned through doing my work with you, and then also my own woo-woo ness and all the things that I dig into and hyper focus on, but all roads have kind of led to this work, which is really, I don't even know, really cool, really purposeful. I hope that the way that we're explaining it is also speaking to other people, because
if I didn't answer the past life question, hit me with it again if there's an angle of it that I didn't explain well enough. I mean, the questions that I tend to ask are where you lived, how far back, was it a past life, was it a future life that's like echoing back to this one, trying to get your attention, which I know time doesn't exist, so it seems really crazy that we could talk about future lives, but it doesn't really matter.
No.
Past other lives is probably a better way to say
other lives. It's an infinite loop, and the way I've explained it to people when they've asked me, what do you mean, like everything everywhere all at once, and that time is as
simultaneous.
Yes. Think of it like a wagon wheel, and you're on the spoke. We exist, like, not when we're in the meat suit. You're definitely out in one of the but you're in not the spoke, the hub is what I'm trying to say. Apparently I don't know wheels. The middle part of the wheel. If you think of yourself as you're about to be a baby born into a life, and you're existing in heaven or in the ether or wherever you choose, whatever name put so much emphasis on what we call the things, and I'm the one that always just tells everybody it's all the same.
Right.
It's the same. But anyway, you're in the middle of it, and you are looking out at this 360 view of all the plethora of options. And I mean, like, if you take it, if you want to say north, south, east, west, or whatever, you're facing this direction, and this is the past, then that would make this direction be future lives.
Right.
But in reality, you're still in the middle.
Right.
And it's still
all the way around.
All the way around. And it'd be like a movie, a film loop. If you took every little slide and you laid them out in a row, it would be it'd be a beginning to end life, let's say. But in the real, it's a loop. Like one slide, it might it'd be Joan as a little girl.
Right.
Because that slide is from, I don't know what year you were born, but let's say 1982.
That was a good year.
There you go.
In the fall.
In the fall of 1982. There's a baby Joan on that slide, but let's fast forward to the middle part of the movie, and let's fast forward to the end of the movie. That's literally what that is.
Yeah. How Einstein explained it that has worked the best for me is like, you know, we think of life linearly, right? Here's start, here's finish. We think of it as horizontal.
Yes.
If we flipped it vertically, it would be all happening all at once, right?
Yes.
Like, and so that helps me tremendously think of time stacked on top of.
That is crazy because you know that I don't see the calendar.
Oh, right.
Way. Yeah, that's why when you were doing that, I was like, are you starting to see time the way that I do? Because that's a crazy thing to have rub off. I've only met a few other people. Well, I know there's a bunch of people. The internet has taught me. There are a bunch of people like me that don't view time or the calendar that way. But
I mean, I'm very sucked into the 3D, but I have to remind myself constantly of like, oh, it's all happening. It's all happening now.
Yeah. Yes. We're existing in this slide of it, but it is all happening.
Our conscious self is trapped in the now moment. Now.
Right now.
Now.
Yeah. Right now.
Now.
Right now. Yeah. And I mean, like, that's the mind fuck of it all.
Yeah.
Is that
you're never there.
Never.
You're always in the now.
You're only in the now, no matter what.
And it will piss you off when you're really wanting to live in the future.
Yeah. I am so future focused too.
I know. Where am I going?
Oh, constantly.
And what is wrong with me?
My brain is solving equations and doing all the math just to get to get beyond the. And it's dumb because I'm very much enjoying the right now.
Right?
You know? I like it so counterintuitive, counterproductive.
It's always the big question though. Where are we going? This world looks like it's going to shit.
and yes, and how I keep myself sane is that macro thing that I'm always talking about. But because right now, I mean, Robert Redford passed away. We're gonna grieve that loss. It does seem like the world's kind of crazy and wild and shitty right now. And in the future people that hear this, just Google what happened the week of Robert Redford's passing, and you'll know that there were some pretty big things that happened.
Just Google 2025.
Right. What a shit show.
But there's also so many good things going on.
That's what I was about to say.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't mean to steal your line.
No, it is, but it is. And then if you even go more, pull back macro from that, my God, we are curing diseases. We're going to cure cancer.
We actually live in the least violent point in history.
The healthiest.
We just have more awareness of how violent we are is really our only issue with our violence.
It is very true. Yeah. And we're
not going to fall into a civil war like we did in the United States in the mid 1800s.
And even if we do, it's not going to look like it did back then.
No, it won't.
As far as any lack, I'm about to make a big, bold statement, but any lack that we experience is created or invented, or it's a byproduct of a system that was intent. That was the intent.
Right.
And I mean that because we live in a limitless universe where there are limitless resources for all of us, and it is the way we choose to structure the way we live and exist right now that there is lack, and that we get to see people experiencing lack, or we get to feel the experience of lack, is because of the way the systems are structured.
Right.
If we all, like you've heard me say this before, but if we all 1, 2, 3, and it would take 8 billion of us, or however many of us that are, I don't know how many.
We could actually figure this out.
8 billion people.
Because Hawkins talked about this, of like for every person that's vibrating above 200 on the scale of consciousness, kind of counteracts
the low
X number of people in the lower state. So there is a number there that is kind of quantifiable. I don't know what that number is, but we could say 1,000 people vibrating above 500 could save the world.
Well, I participated in the World Meditation Day. Did you do that?
And there's data to back that up.
There's literally data to back that up.
Like
the Schumann resonance,
world violence went down.
Everything
chilled out.
We will probably end up doing an episode about the whole Schumann resonance.
We should.
I drive Joan nuts with the Schumann resonance stuff. I think I'm the queen of like, everybody look, it's the Schumann resonance is going nuts today. It's just, you might as well just batten down the hatches. And the reason being is the heartbeat of the earth. It's usually at about 7.84 on the World Meditation Day. We literally raised the vibration. I mean, like it you can see on the whole graph during that time, during that World Meditation hour, I think it was supposed to be, we chose a time that was like a Central Time, 3 o'clock, you know what I mean, whatever.
Which is such a great kind of note to wrap this up on, is like, you have more power than you think you do.
The reason for all of the division and the divisiveness is so fucking intentional, because if 8 billion people got together and became like-minded, holy shit, that would, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the majority of us ever all decided to say, this is the way it's going to be, and we just made it that way, that's the way it would be.
Right.
So yeah.
I don't know that that's the point, and this is going to get off into philosophical weeds, but I don't think that Sky Daddy made a set of rules and then expected everyone to follow those rules, that there's one way for every person to live on this planet.
I just found out there's like 3,000 versions of the Bible. Like I did not know that. I genuinely did not know that. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Everybody's like,
you really make assumptions that
like everybody's trying to get everybody to believe the same thing, but then
Yeah,
nobody
like,
believes the same thing.
Why
It's
would
like,
a God even want to do that? That's boring.
well, not only is it boring, it's also counter to literally everything that we see playing out for us, like same, middle, all of that. I mean, like, I know our little weary souls crave that because of the comfort of homeostasis, but it is in the upset and all of that we get our experiences.
Right.
That is how experience happens. Like, we move that up and down. Or we would all just be laying in bed.
Leave static lives. This is a thing that hit me this morning. Like, if your routine is trying to make your life static, what are you doing? And I was like,
why?
I really needed to hear that, because I've been kind of beating myself up about the 75 hard, but you know what I mean? And trying to do this thing. I was like, I am gonna beat myself into.
And I
work that way.
It's so funny too. One of the things that I was observing was when you said that you were doing the 75 hard, I was, and I shout out to my CrossFitters, because I was a diehard CrossFitter for a while, but I was doing whole 30s, and 75 hard was new to me. I was like, what is that, like even worse than a whole 30?
Sort of.
Yeah, we did something that was called a Lurong challenge, and I know Lurong's a company, but it was an even more austere, more whatever version of a whole 30, and doing all this intense work. I created a lot of inflammation in my body, and a lot of, I had already had unhealthy patterns and thinking around food.
Yeah.
And around.
And it just ignited those.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And so the things that I was doing, and I was trying, and I was very much struggling to do and to fit my weirdly shaped little peg into whatever, hole that it just wouldn't fit into. And beating myself up the whole time and calling myself a failure for not accomplishing it. Anyway, I am such a permitter. Whenever you were doing the hard 75, and I was like, well, and then I thought, okay, well, I don't want to be that friend that tells her, give yourself some grace, because that feels gross. And somebody that's trying to do a hard thing, but it made me reflect. And here's the thing that I have learned since I have stuck. I've never shamed, bullied, hated myself into anything that was ever any sort of a positive, lasting change in my life, ever.
Right.
And it has been through this last few years of I've had to be gentle with myself because I've had to be gentle with myself.
Right.
I was broken. I was so fucking busted up and so exhausted, tired that I didn't even have it to try to give myself some big hard structure or a hill to climb to, try to give myself some, no. I needed to be swaddled in my weighted blanket and tended to like a Victorian child with consumption, because that's what I did. And I'm grateful that I landed at a place where I'm supported in that. Like I got to do that, as were you.
Yeah.
And
I'm very lucky.
Yes.
I'm the luckiest.
I really am too. And I have just learned that and I'm not saying that you can love your way through a hard 75, but I think that you can.
Yeah.
I really think that you can. And it's going to take some mental gymnastics to get yourself in a place to where you can say, I'm going to do this because I am desiring challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I am needing
I just wanted to, I wanted to do it to reset some of my daily habits. But the thing that I'm learning with being a fucking woman is that I'm not a circadian rhythm girl, and I always have to kind of be reminded of that. Like, so when I hit my luteal phase last month,
we're going to do a hormone episode next week, by the way, because
I was like, because I try to think about one day as a woman is 28 days for men. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's why we're there.
So if I wanted to do a 75 hard, it would be whatever 28 times 75 is.
That'd be forever. She means she'd be doing it forever hard. And who wants to do that? Not me. I want to do a forever delight. Forever delightful. A 75 delight.
All right, let's wrap it up. Yeah, we're going to do an episode on hormones. I think it's really important. We've got two different perspectives here.
Yeah,
and if there's ever like questions that you want us to research or anything like that, definitely hit us.
Yeah, hit us up. I will definitely, we will do our best to try to pull in information, but also like lived experience is pretty much what
that's like in this world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, this was really good.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful to people that have reached out and gave us some questions and asked us to expound on things. That's how we're learning to do this. And yeah, feel free, hit us up for anything else.
I'll put some resources in the show notes on like Hawkins research, things like that, things where you can find more information if you're into it.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
See ya.
Awesome. Thank you. Love you, mean it. Bye. Oh, that's Cooper's running to the door.
I know. He's like,